All right, now you have searched and you found a perfect job announcement. You created an amazing resume, a CV. You also gave all the time and energy to produce your cover letter, which is hopefully very good too. And the result of all this time and effort was that they called you for an interview. What do you do now? The first thing that you want to do is you want to do homework, a lot of homework about the company. What is homework? Is you going through their website, knowing their website really by heart. Go through all the materials about this company. Great homework and great information that you gather is one of the keys to your success during the interview. Now, before the interview, in addition to the homework about the company that you want to be doing, you also want to plan how you're going to look. Fortunately or unfortunately, the looks really matter a lot in your interviewing process, and you want to look according to the expectation of the people or a person who's going to be interviewing you. Now, internationally, the business formal includes for men a suit, a tie, lace-up shoes, no bright colors, pretty conservative look. In Lao culture, my understanding is it's the same. Probably, you want to skip the tie, but overall, you want to be looking professionally and formally. For women, again, is a very businessy attire. You probably want to be wearing a national skirt and a professional jacket. Now, before the interview phase is over and you actually are going to the interview, you are stepping into their office, what do? You want to project confidence, you want to project professionalism as well. What about shaking the hands? The good solution in Lao culture, make the gesture of the greeting, and that would be enough. And feel the situation. If you feel that the employer is willing and ready to shake your hand, just respond respectively. You want to be smiling, definitely. You want to be projecting confidence also with your positivity. Maintaining eye contact with a person or people interviewing you is important. So make sure that no matter how uncomfortable you are, there is a healthy, good, productive eye contact between the two of you. Now, when you sit down, when you start your interview, do not tell them the entire life story. When you were born, where you were born, where you went to school, and so on and so on. Try to be as relevant to the position that you're applying and try to provide them with all the information that they would find useful for this particular position and not in general. So provide them with relevant facts about your education, your career, and your current life situation. When you are telling them about you, try to go backwards chronologically. What I mean is you want to be providing them the latest event in your career and your life, and then the older one, and then the older one, and then the oldest relevant event. Do not, again, start with the oldest one, but start with the most recent one that is relevant. What you want to be doing also, you want to print out the resume that you sent to this position, and you want to have it with you, and when you enter the room for an interview, you want to be giving them that copy of the resume. What is it done for? This is a very smart kind of use because first it shows that you came prepared, that you came with something and you want to be helpful to them. The second thing is very, very practical. If you remember, I said that you want to be creating multiple versions of your resumes and your cover letters because you are applying to different companies. So you want to make sure that you have the version of the resume that also they have. You would make sure that you guys are on the same page with the resumes and the cover letters. Also, just have a picture ID in your bag. Usually the companies that have, the strict security measures, they will let you know that you would have to have an ID to enter their office. But what if they forget? So in order not to be a problem, be extremely prepared and have the picture ID in your bag or in your pocket. All right, now let me go over the types of questions that you might be asked during your interview. The first type of questions is called questions about general type of questions. The most important one, the most kind of frequently seen one is called tell me about yourself. And again, as I said, you do not want to be telling the entire life story. A good solution for you would be if you have a summary part on your resume, it can be exactly kind of the same text, maybe paraphrased a little bit, but not drastically, exactly the same text as your summary part. The second question that you might be asked is to tell them more about your experience, about your volunteering, professional internship experience, whatever other experience. So a question might sound like, what have you done after your graduation or after your internship? Here, it's key to be brief, to be concise, to be positive, to show advancement as well. So you grew from position X to position X+1, or gave some utility, some benefit to the company. For example, they had 400 customers. After you started with them, there was like 420 or 450. So show some achievements, some advancements. If there are gaps in your resume, you want to be ready to talk about them. What do I mean by gaps? Gaps, really those periods of times where you were out of job, where you were not working and so on. Now, you can have a perfectly fine justification for those gaps, such as health issues, such as you stopped your career for education, or you were preparing for something very important in terms of your studies. You were taking care of the sick family member. It is okay to have gaps. The most important thing is you have to be ready to talk about those gaps, to use your interpersonal skills, your communication skills to explain why those gaps happened. One of the questions that you will definitely see in a resume that is a general question as well is the what is your strength question. Well, here what you really want to do, you want to confidently state the skills and the qualities that really make you stand out, that are exceptional skills that you have. And also those shouldn't be just general, exceptionally good strength of yours, but those should be the strengths that are relevant to this particular job. So this is a self-awareness question. So you need to exercise some self-awareness. You need to go kind of deeper and kind of self-reflect and understand what is it that I objectively, that I really am good in, and what can I be proud of in terms of adding value potentially to this position that I'm interviewing for. Another question, a general question that you might be asked could be, why do you want to work here? Well, this is not unlike other people think that this is a question to see how much in love you are with their company, how much you can praise them. This is not about that. With this question, they want to understand why in particular and what exactly do you like, not in general, you don't need to praise that company, but what is it that attracted you more in this position, and what is the value that you can particularly add to what narrow part. So this really is a homework question rather than a flattery question, so you have to understand that correctly. The other question that you might encounter, the general type of question, is called the salary question or the money question. Now, the way you answer this question, you would have to probably try to avoid a direct answer here. But if they still keep on insisting, probably you want to say a range, and you want to refer to last resort, really. You want to refer to a certain number which is within their range, and probably say that you're comfortable with that number or a slightly higher number. But again, the strategy would be like to avoid mentioning a number. Another type of a question that you might be asked would be, do you prefer to work independently or within a team? The best answer here is to say that you're comfortable with both arrangements, but really if you're interviewing for a job that is within the team or on the contrary, very individual work, you want to mention the one that is relevant to the position that you're applying to, because they want to make sure that you realize, that you understand what is the job description and that you're a good match with that job description. General recommendations regarding the general type of questions. Never badmouth your former employer. Avoid talking about bad experiences. Emphasize only those experiences that you are proud of and avoid the controversial ones. Explain unusual parts of your resume, such as the gaps, the time gaps, and be ready to openly speak about the reasons why you left the job, why you had this gap that overlaps with the study, and so on. It's all about good communication. It's not about the gap itself. Finally, avoid explaining your decisions with reasons such as money, personal conflict, or again, kind of problems that you encountered with. Try to be as safe of a hire as possible. The second type of questions that you might encounter is called specific career stories or case interview type of questions. Now, it is assumed that you will not be giving a general answer, but instead you will be telling them an exact case, an exact story that happened to you. Tell me about a situation when you had to deal with a conflict would be one. Now, some people who don't have much experience, who have never worked anywhere, still can answer this because the conflict situation might happen in your internship, in your volunteering experience, in your studies, in your university, and in general in your life. So you really want to be telling them an exact story. Behavioral type of questions you might be encountering also in your interview. The good news is that behavioral type of questions, which sound like, by the way, what would you do in this situation, and the specific career stories questions or case questions are very similar. They are pretty much exactly the same, but the behavioral type interview questions, they assume a general answer and then an example, while specific career stories are really examples. What would you do type of a question, such as what would you do if there were 2 project deadlines approaching and you have a heavy workload already, you would probably start by saying, oh, this is what I will generally do. And then you would go into a specific career story and you would be like, for example, I was managing this project, blah, 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 and then you start telling them the career story. The purpose of this type of questions is to see how you deal with stress, is also to see how well you are able to negotiate, what are your decision-making abilities, and actually have experience doing this. So whenever you're telling them a specific career story, you are confirming that this is not something in the air, this is not something in general that you would probably theoretically approach in this way, but you actually have a track record, have an experience of dealing with problems like this. The fourth and the final component of any good interview is also you asking them a question. This is an opportunity for you to show your personality in a positive way and also to clarify some questions that you might have. It is very important to realize that you are not in a position of kind of asking them for something, such as asking them to hire you. The questions that you want to be asking your potential employer can range from ones that make something clear, such as what is the work schedule, or such as how much travel is expected, or what the benefits are, having a conversation, having a real life type of an interaction with your employer. For example, asking them, what is the best thing about working in this company? Asking questions to your potential employer can really be helpful both for you to understand the company and them to understand you as a person. There are some unplanned occurrences that can happen at an interview and you need to be prepared for them. And this is the way to prepare for them. First, manage your anxiety. You must be self-aware enough to know what it is that makes you nervous, what it is that makes you anxious. So manage your anxiety. Also, it is very important to make sure you do not interrupt your person that you're interviewing with. You want to be polite, you want to be respectful, you want to be a good listener, you want to be showing with your active listening skills that you are in touch, and you want to understand by being in touch when is the time for you to answer this question. So interrupting is not only rude, but also is an indicator that there is not a very good contact between you and the person who interviews you. Also, some interviewers can be short of time, can be impatient. They might cut you off. They might be the ones interrupting. Don't freak out. Maybe they are not nice, they are rude, but maybe they don't have time. Listen to the question carefully. During the interview, you want to be answering the correct question, because if you don't listen and you immediately rush into answering that question, you might be answering the wrong question, and that's not what you want to do. Don't go around with your answer. Be to the point, be specific, because going around and touching up other stuff that is probably remotely connected, or worst case scenario, not even connected with the question, it means that you do not understand the essence of the question. So there again is not a very effective communication between the two of you. Now, if you do not understand that question, and that is the reason why you go around, ask them. Ask them to repeat. It's better to ask rather than to answer a wrong question again. Some people make this mistake, and when they go to an interview, they feel like the interviewer is there to offend or humiliate them. Believe me, that's not the point. That's not the reason why they are asking the questions. What you want to do is you want to really understand the interviewer there is there to help you, and do not feel offended with the questions that they ask you. Briefly weave in your qualifications and input in each position that you're asked about. For example, you know that they want marketing qualifications, right? But you're interviewing for an IT company. So you want to be emphasizing in this IT position your marketing capabilities. You probably want to be saying, while I was involved in this project, I closely cooperated with the marketing people, and that's how we came up with a very effective website. So basically you touched upon the website, the IT part, but also you kind of weaved in the marketing qualifications that you had. Would be making much more sense, a much more attractive candidate for this position in the eyes of the potential employer. Be prepared to elaborate on each position or positions that you have in your resume. So have a career story related to every single item that you have on your resume. Finally, be prepared to tell more about each company that you worked, interned, or volunteered for. So it would be really a shame if you have a company mentioned, and if they ask you, what was that company doing, and you do not know the answer, that would be very embarrassing. So to summarize, practice, 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 practice. Practice is the key thing. Having these career stories, having a good answer, a smooth answer to tell me about yourself, or what are your weaknesses, or what are your strengths type of questions, or the career stories, or the what would you do type of questions. To have all of this in your toolbox and being able to use them effectively, it takes a lot of practice. Good luck with your interviews. I'm sure if you apply all this knowledge that you gained from this e-learning material, you will be very successful in your job search. Good luck.